Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the IAIS podcast, a podcast dedicated to Islamic international relations, global Muslim affairs, and relevant topics related to Islam and the world. My name is Nain, and I will be your host today. Next to me is our special guest, Michelle Shamini. She is a Malaysian humanitarian professional with over 14 years of experience in international affairs, conflict zones, and humanitarian operations management. Michelle has worked across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. And prior to that, she was a writer on social political issues in Malaysia. She is currently a part of a team in which I would say a very unique and a creative campaign against the grave injustice and genocide currently carried out by the Zionist regime in Israel. And the project is called Travel Ban IDF Proposal, which is a grassroots policy initiative calling on the Malaysian government to bar individuals complicit in war crimes and genocide from entering the country. So I think we'll start with the first question. Travel Ban IDF. So what are the origins of this very interesting initiative, and what motivated the shift from passive support such as donations to a more direct and policy-oriented approach like the one you proposed?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Oh.
Yeah, I would like to explain a little bit because it seems either very scary or people are not sure what exactly we're talking about. Basically, we're a group of, let's say, comrades who met at a community, civil society organizing event held by Faith Events, actually. And one of the things that came out in how we can help with regards to stopping the genocide was coming up with a group that would speak to our representatives in Malaysian government about coming up with a travel ban proposal for those who are taking part in a genocide. So it's very small. As you can tell, we were not very creative with the name, I will admit. It's just called Travel Ban, the IDF. And it also stems from a larger issue affecting, obviously not so much Malaysia, because I would say we do not have, it's very clear we do not have diplomatic relations with Israel.
Yes.
So, Israeli people are not randomly walking around here, let's say. That we know of. Of course, I'll come back to that later. But we know in the region, in countries like Thailand and other places, there are a lot of social media postings, let's say, of a lot of those people who have probably served in IDF in the last 600 days that are still living their life as per normal, even though they have been, taking part in this genocide. So that's where the motivation came from, actually.
So definitely our diplomatic relations with Israel is not the same with others. So we have been consistent since the very start to have no diplomatic relation with Israel, but that doesn't stop them from, even Malaysia, we have a lot of controversy as well involving Israeli citizens doing a lot of mostly secret attacks, or what do you call it, intelligence gathering, and as well as assassinations, if I'm not mistaken. We are also being surprised with the appearance of Malay Muslim agents cooperating with Mossad agents in kidnapping Palestinians. So I think that brings us to the next question. Many Malaysians believe that IDF members are already banned from entering the country, and that explains. So the question raises is, why are you and your team still looking to undertake this step? I mean, I think we have discussed a little bit on that, on why we still need have to have a more exclusive or more uh, deeper ban, because despite our diplomatic relations, they still sift through, they still go through to the country. So, why do you think we still need this kind of ban, and what is different compared to the usual official channel?
Good questions, good point. So basically, I would say the most recently most popularized or popular in the last year or so was the presence of an Israeli man who came into Malaysia with I think the story, according to the newspapers, is that he came in on a different passport. He's a dual national and came in a different passport and was provided guns and ammunition here to settle a dispute.
Yes.
As of March, I think he's now going through his prison sentence in Malaysia. The Home Minister at the time clearly said, like, of course, people come in here, dual nationals, they don't have to use, they have the option, let's say, of using different passports, right? So, looking into this loophole, obviously, not only in Malaysia, but excuse me, in many other countries, we can see that, especially here, if people were to come in, and as we well know, a lot of members of IDF had not double but triple, quadruple nationalities. They are able to use any passports if they want. So our idea is that, and this follows international law, it's not just based on whim and fancy. Like, we should be able to ensure there are consequences for anyone committing a genocide, aiding or abetting or facilitating a genocide. And I want to just kind of add here that us Malaysians or any members of the ASEAN states, in many countries, before you enter a lot of the main Western democracies, there are visas on arrival where you are asked many questions about your moral character. So have you been convicted of a crime? Have you been, some countries even ask you, have you been involved in domestic violence? So the length and breadth of the questions on a visa on arrival is what Malaysians can make of it. So tomorrow we do have it. Of course, most ASEAN countries don't have to fill it up because we allow Malaysia is pretty generous with our entry permissions. Some countries where you have to fill up the form, it's a very basic form. So what we are essentially proposing is that the relevant government agencies and ministries get together and actually make it difficult and ensure there are consequences, and also provides a deterrent to those who have served in IDF and who have committed genocide and have taken part in acts that would constitute a genocide.
Yes, and I think in the UK now they have ETA,
Yes.
entry,
Correct.
what electronic
Yeah.
travel allowance, no?
Application,
Yeah. And I think in one of the forms, I just filled it up because I'm going to the UK soon.
Yeah.
In one of the forms, it's been asked, have you committed genocide?
Yes.
So it's directly related to what Israel is doing right now.
Yeah.
But my additional question is, does Travel Ban IDF have like a special way to like identify these IDF soldiers? I mean, they don't usually declare themselves, although some post their atrocities online. Do you have? Can you tell a little bit about how do you identify them aside from the social media and official channels?
So obviously, we are a citizen group. There's very few of us. All of us do this work for free.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own jobs and stuff like that, so it's not something that we are really into, because
Mm.
again, I think in this day and age we need to start looking at what we as normal private citizens can do, and we can talk more about that later,
Mhm.
as well as what states and governments have the right to do for us, who have obviously given them this kind of contract that you are in power, please protect us,
Yeah.
so because this is an issue of course, national security.
Yes.
We look at many social media reports. I'm sure you've seen on Instagram, in
Mhm.
Thailand, in so many countries. There are many members of the age where they would have probably been serving in the IDF, because Israel practices conscription.
Mhm.
So the question is, do we want to carry on allowing these dual nationality passport holders to own property? In many countries, they own property. They live there. In Sri Lanka, for example, there was recently reports, I think late last year or early this year, whereby many properties have been taken up by them.
Mm.
They have their own like enclave where locals are not allowed to come to their parties or events. I mean, all of these kind of things are happening
In
regularly.
Cyprus, I think, is one of the latest ones.
I mean, I haven't heard the Cyprus one, but it's possible. I mean, these are all very Googleable things. So as far as the our little group is concerned, I think it's up to the governments to also start looking into our immigration practices, especially when it comes to people from these kind of backgrounds, because as you said, a lot of these Western democracies where you
Yes.
go
Yeah.
into, they will ask you this question on your ETA, because these questions are also legally binding. So lying on them is bad. You
I was
shouldn't do that.
about to ask that.
Actually, it is punishable, and you can be put on a watch list. As for how we know these people are committing genocide, in fact, there's so many reports and accounts. We have a team member who has collected a massive list, and this list is going around on many Telegram channels of people who have documented this as well. One of the very important and big, I would say they're big, but one of the organizations that are doing a very good job, I think, is the Hin Raja Foundation, because you have had people from European countries, mainly, but of course, the United States for sure, who have served in the IDF. And the question is then, like, when they come back to Brussels or somewhere in the Netherlands, etc., are they going to be brought to justice for widely documented crimes? Because I don't know what to say, whether they are very ignorant, because committing the crimes is one thing. Committing the crimes and then putting it on your Instagram is, I mean, I don't know, it's just sheer stupidity. But even better, because as you well know from Nazi Germany, Rwanda, Bosnia, I mean, finding evidence through law and finding the perpetrators, it takes a long time.
Yes.
So for us at Travel Ban, we want to kind of start the process already, in the sense that, like, countries need to start having these watch lists. There are many accounts who are documenting the abuses and the war crimes that have been perpetrated by these people. They just have to tap into it and ask many of the civil society organizations that are doing this work, because since then many of them have tried to scrape the evidence off, and of course when the Nuremberg trials were going on, and Rwanda and all these things, one could say back then it was very hard because of the geographic location is so huge, right? They went from Germany to Latin America, etc. But now with the digital age and everything online, there's really no excuse, in fact, So we hope, in a sense, that justice will come sooner for the Palestinians in this respect. Yeah.
Well, I actually have a question. So, as you mentioned, all of the documentations being done from social media, they are quite informal. Maybe I would say it's like grassroots movement.
Yes.
So, how do you balance that kind of data compiled by these grassroots organizations or non-governmental organizations and try to use this to make like a formal travel ban at the state level. And maybe the follow-up question is, how do you think? What are your plans to cooperate with the Malaysian government, the immigration, and so forth?
Right. So obviously, as a normal citizens group, there are a lot of limitations.
Yes.
I mean, these databases of storage that are pretty public. A lot of Telegram channels have them. A lot of Twitter accounts have compiled terabytes of data. So videos, tweets, etc. So it's a matter of governments, including ours, actually filtering to the information and coming up with a watch list. There are some that are already in filed cases. As I mentioned, the Hin Rajah Foundation has actually brought domestic charges against their own nationals who have participated in this genocide, because they were working for the IDF at the time, but also holding Belgian nationality, for example. So for them, of course, it's a little bit easier in the sense that they are citizen of their country. But I would like to echo also, I think, what Francesca Albanese has said many times, in that it's not just the international courts that have jurisdiction over this. Every country has a right to keep their sovereignty, national security. We've seen so many kinds of bans coming in from the US, for example. Previously in the Trump administration, where everyone called it a Muslim ban, countries have the right to control their borders, of course. I mean, this all depends on our government and their approach in how they would like to take it. Of course, as Malaysians, we have a right to have our own nations as well secure, and not have like people with genocidal intent wandering around KLCC. One of the things that comes to mind is, let's say someone is in Malaysia holidaying, went to KLCC, his IDF card pops out of his wallet. What are the laws that would affect them? I'm not a lawyer. I wish I was. But these are the things that kind of are very interesting to think about as well. And in terms of nations actually doing these things and having it work for them, I think another example I can bring up is probably Australia. They've rejected the visas of several people who they know have worked for the IDF, for example. So I think we need to start being a little bit more stringent with this kind of thing. And Malaysia is in a very good position to do so, given the fact that we have been talking about Palestine for a long time, and yeah, I think we can be a state in Southeast Asia that is pretty passionate about human rights and upholding values of justice, especially under this current government. So yeah.
So have you reached out to any government bodies in Malaysia, or you plan to?
We have with some MPs. We would like to ask more people. If anyone in any of the ministries is watching this, please reach out. The main reasoning is that, of course, Ministry of Home Affairs, Department of Immigration, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Prime Minister's office, they all operate on very experienced platforms. They know a lot of things that we don't know. And they have the expertise to pull off something like this, and they don't have to look very far, because a majority of these countries that we both have mentioned, they have this in their visa on arrivals. So it's not like an alien thing we're proposing.
So just tweak it a little bit.
It's a matter of tweaking, and it's a matter of showing political will to want to ensure this happens. And because Malaysia is also the ASEAN chair, I think it's a great initiative to even roll out to other countries in ASEAN, because off the top of my head, I can tell you in Thailand, there's plenty of the IDF, for example, who could be vacationing right now. Indonesia has sort of brought this up, like strengthening ties with Israel, which was I thought very random. And then we have the example of Sri Lanka. And the other thing I would also add to this is that for Malaysians, another interesting group to look at is, of course, BDS International. They
Yes.
do such amazing work. And again, this is a wonderful resource because we have to remember that the apartheid movement in South Africa was one of the pioneers of BDS,
Yes.
And I wouldn't say that BDS helped break apartheid, but it's a lot of sanctionings, boycotting products. That's why, for example, Northern Ireland, all these countries that were very very against this level of apartheid happening in South Africa, the racism, etc. So a lot of people have been on the side of justice, but of course it takes a long time. We have many elements working pro and con, let's say, because now we have the digital age. So just because you committed a war crime yesterday and you deleted your post
Yes.
doesn't mean it's gone. Of course, there's also cons in that a legal system does move pretty slowly, but it does bend towards justice. And I think relying on international humanitarian law is something that we have to think about as well and kind of translate it into our domestic legislation.
Yes. Talking about domestic, for many of us in Malaysia, the Palestinian cause is closely tied to religion and politics. As you mentioned, it's being framed as, for instance, in Malaysia, is mostly framed as a Muslim and Islamic cause. So, at least apparently in this country, and you are a non-Muslim. So, why, based on your opinion, why is it important to shift the discourse beyond politics and religion in this context?
Oh my gosh. Big question. So many points. Okay, so for example, I've seen many people mocking international humanitarian law. I saw a meme the other day, or like a little picture thing about we should just take the Geneva Conventions and put it in the fiction section of the bookshop.
Yeah.
Firstly, I worked in the humanitarian field, and international humanitarian law is extremely important because it gives you a benchmark of where we should be as humanity. Secondly, I think we can all agree that slavery is bad.
Yes.
But just fairly recently, a lot of people were still practicing slavery. I mean, we won't go into the issues of modern day slavery that we have now. But let's say, there are many things that we chugged along and were agreed upon globally that, okay, slavery is bad, and then we eradicated that.
Yes.
Then we moved on to next things, So in Malaysia, many a time I see on posts from like Suhakam or Amnesty International, and especially when it has to do with things like migrants, refugees, let's say the Rohingya, for example, you can see clear comments in the comment section that are very discriminatory and completely xenophobic, like ask them to go back to your own country and all these kind of things. So I think as a nation, firstly, generally overall, my experience, anecdotally or whatever, our daily life in Malaysia is pretty amazing. We are generally very kind people and we practice a lot of the values I hold dear. However, having said that, we have to start looking at it as all these issues, just saying that, oh, we don't need human rights. And I've seen it many times in Malaysian discussion. We don't need human rights. Like, you are here and sitting in your house and able to type that comment because so many people came before you to give you that right to type it.
Yeah.
And I'm 42. Okay, so I remember a time, let's say even 20 years ago, you cannot type this kind of comment online.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think the younger generation or people who are slightly younger than me, and in comparison, let's say Gen X, they remember the vast difference of, let's say, even something as simple as freedom of speech,
Yes.
you know. And before I joined like the first ever bursary as a young student, and it was so interesting because I got scolded by everybody, including my family, everybody, you know. And then, of course, the progress of what it has made, asking for free and fair elections is actually not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that in theory, right? So the interesting thing about that is that where we are today and the level of discourse and discussion and democracy and rights that we have is because of all these people who came before us. So you cannot sit at home and say things like, oh, you know, we don't need human rights. And I also call to your attention that most recently, they have like completely upheld the ruling about Malaysians having the right to peacefully assemble.
Oh.
You know, like it just happened like a week or two ago. And this is really important for us, you know, because of course nobody says anything if you want to walk to the US embassy and protest. It's happening, like, you know, BDS organizes quite often. But there may come a time where your own fundamental freedoms are affected, regardless of whether you're Muslim, non-Muslim, etc. And these are the kind of rights you expect as a citizen, you know. And as a non-Muslim, for me, I think I've been raised by my family, by my mom, with a lot of ideas of social justice, regardless of color, you know. And I think in my career, for example, I've worked mainly in the Middle East. So I cannot be going to a country and be like, oh no, I cannot help these people because they're Muslim. You know, that makes no sense because international humanitarian law looks at people with rights, every human being, you know, regardless whether you're a child, a woman, you know, is it an old library that has cultural value? See, we have all agreed on these things. So we have to take the people who don't take these things seriously to task, you know, and bring them to justice. So I like to look at it as you have to look at everybody as a human being. And I think Malaysia, in and of itself, we have to come to terms with a lot of things that we do in our own country. You know, if you see people being treated badly because of race or religion, you also have to speak up, you know. So it's not like, oh, we only worry about Palestine. We also worry about things that happen here. And the other thing I have to call out is like compassion and empathy are not finite things in your heart. Like only got 10 batang to use, you know. So I cannot give like too many to Palestine.
It's not limited.
It's an unlimited feeling you can have for humanity, you know. So I think people need to stop discussing that, and also, of course, move away from the whole like, oh, your enemy, your whatever your cause is, because it's not what I am. I'm not Muslim or whatever. It's you know, it's a humanity issue, number one. And I also think that it bears reminding Malaysians here who think that it's a Muslim issue that the protests and the stuff in Malaysia is not that big, because I think we take it for granted. If you go to Spain, you go to UK, you go to the US, my goodness, the students in the campus, crazy. And they are losing things, you know. So they're losing their scholarships, they're losing their education, they're being kicked out of universities, they've been spending time in detention. So we have to start seeing like where we stand in this, like, I think it's a Martin Luther quote, if I'm not mistaken. You know, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. So we have to start asking ourselves, like, in 20 years' time, when your, I don't know, children and grandchildren ask you, what did you do when this genocide was going on? Like, please, you know, like be on the right side of history is what I'm saying.
Yes. So humanity is what it takes for us to unite. And as you mentioned just now, in other countries, this kind of problem did not exist. I mean, in Malaysia, it's a bit unique, maybe because of its politics, maybe because of its his context. So that needs to be changed, as you mentioned, and the Palestinian cause should be viewed as a humanitarian issue that affects us all equally. So that's what I think. You also mentioned, I think in our previous meeting, that the proposal should be framed not only as a foreign policy stance, but also a matter of national security. Uh, Comment a little bit on that.
Um, of course, like I said earlier, Ministry of Home Affairs will have a much larger, wider view on this and how things work. Just taking that one case last year in isolation of this Israeli dual national entered the country, bought some guns and ammunition. It's not like he entered the country for a visit. He came here to do allegedly crimes. So I think we need to have, of course, he is because he entered legally, we have no issue with people having dual passports. But now what we're trying to say is the government has to step up and also look into people who have served in the IDF and committed genocide. That's why I want to come back to the problem statement, which is that, and it's good that you brought this up again, it's not a ban on any particular nationality or person. It is specifically to stop people with genocidal intent, people who have committed genocide, aided, abetted, taken part in, funded. This is the language that is being used in other countries' visa on arrival. This is what we are trying to stop. And it's definitely up to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Department of Immigration, National Security Council. And so these are the agencies that would have to sit down and look at it, because at the end of the day, I have been in briefings from Special Branch, and I can tell you they do really good work, and I would say that they would know exactly how they can tweak this more so than any of us lay people. So this is something that would be very interesting for them to look at in terms of our national security. As for the foreign policy aspect, as I mentioned, from the Nazis fleeing Germany after World War II, it was really hard to gain evidence and stuff like that. So again, the tribunal for Palestine, the court cases have already begun. But to serve justice is going to take a very long time. Even with the digital age, it's going to be a lot of things that we're going to have to look at. And I think that in this respect, Malaysia can be a pioneering country in this region, And again, it's not like other countries are not doing it. So it's also up to us to kind of step up and use this as a tool to prevent, genocidal people from coming into the country.
Yes. To recap, Travel Ban IDF, Malaysians should, all ages and all ethnicities, everyone universal should support this, not because it's just a humanitarian cause, but also it's an issue of national security that affects us as Malaysians, if I say that correctly.
Yeah.
So we go to the next question. What are some of the key challenges you have faced in mobilizing both public and institutional support, especially given the politicization of the Palestinian issue and the widespread confusion around the boycott efforts? So what are kind of obstacles?
I wouldn't say we have obstacles as such. Again, very small group, just started this. But it would be amazing if the government could actually look into something like this and see if it was feasible. And for Malaysia, with its current administration, and the MADANI values, looking into something which is extremely timely for this moment. That's number one. Number two, I think also, politicized or not, I think we cannot lose sight of the fact that this genocide is happening. It's happening every day. And it's very jarring, I would say, being, I guess I'm a millennial-ish person. It's very jarring, because you go online, you're like, oh my goodness, people being shot and killed, someone carrying his brother's body in a plastic bag. And then, it's a recipe, So we are having genocide broadcast to us every single day. It's crazy. And at the same time, I'm sure the media is, they're all over the place. There are certain news channels I don't even follow anymore. Like I have lost respect. Like last week was Glastonbury, the music festival.
Oh, yeah.
And that turned into like a massive issue. Oh my God, he said that to the IDF, He's a musician. Musicians have been saying things and throwing support behind so many things for time immemorial, The Vietnam War was a perfect example. That's why Woodstock was so popular, and then the other band that came across was against the band Kneecap. I mean, all this for me is just distractions, because in that Glastonbury is a 5-day music festival. In that 5 days, I don't know how many children and adults who went to these Gaza humanitarian fund checkpoints for aid got shot.
Yes.
And in the same few days, Haaretz released a news article saying that the soldiers were bored or they were just told to simply fire at different people, Doctors Without Borders have had patients killed in their beds because of fire. They've had so many mass casualty events because of this aid pods or whatever they're having, in the different areas. People walking, miles to get a bit of bread and pasta. I mean, for me, I don't know. It's very depressing to talk about it like this because obviously it's happening every day, and yet our attention is being pushed to other things, other less important things. Palestine action in the UK has been proscribed. So now you cannot support them. It's considered a terror offense, etc. Like all this to me is like smoke screens, and I think everyone has their part to play. You mentioned boycotts and stuff like that as well. Look, in Malaysia, as far as young people are concerned, I think they need to start reading up on different things, And I come back to the same thing. Just continuing to be angry or whatever because, this is about, the Islamic holy sites. That you have to go beyond that. There are people there every day that are suffering. And it's beyond just the fact that it's a very important Islamic monument, let's say. It has to go beyond that, because tomorrow, if something like this happens next door in our neighboring country, which it has, by the way, we also have to be super upset about it and demand justice, even though there is no monument there, because we're doing this for the long run for all of us, And it comes back again to national security as well, because in both instances, we don't want genocidal people coming into our country, even though it's far away. But we don't want it happening down the road either. But it all comes back to humanitarian law. And just another point of note is that you let international humanitarian laws of war like slide in one area, right? The next war, you will see how it starts to erode. And we have a real life example that happened recently with India and Pakistan. It happened almost instantly, and you could see like it happening. Thankfully, it calmed down. But every time stuff like this happens, every time we give people like a card to just kind of go and act with impunity, and the international community doesn't get upset about it, it chips away at what we have, like our foundations, I don't know whether I answered the question.
So what do you mean is the main challenges is to improve themselves to better?
I think in Malaysia, I think with young people, they should definitely get more involved with BDS Malaysia.
Read more.
100%.
Get involved more.
Yeah, BDS Malaysia. We live very happy, nice, safe lives here. Some people don't like going for protests. I'm not going to judge them. It's up to them which element of BDS they want to support. BDS International and Malaysia has so many resources, to the point that they have anti-apartheid zone stickers, which have been utilized by businesses in Spain or Greece or whatever. I think one of the Instagram videos I saw, I think it was in Italy, they had put that up on their taverna or restaurant or whatever, and some tourists from Israel had actually stopped by and they got really upset when they saw that, So for me, it's also like drawing a line in the sand as to where your conviction lies and not being afraid to speak up for any form of oppression or, situations such as this happening in your own backyard. And also moving on to direct action. And I don't like it when I guess people tend to pick on people. Like, oh, if I went to the protest, then like, oh, I go and like insult other people who haven't gone to a protest. It doesn't have to always be like that. And you have to encourage people, no matter how little they're doing. I've always set up like donations, for example, to organizations that I respect. So there are many ways we can help, and you need to ask yourself, like, is it enough for you personally? Yeah.
So the last question, I think I'll give you a special moment as a plug-in. So finally, for members of the public or policymakers who wish to engage, what immediate actions or policy interventions would you recommend at this stage of the initiative?
I think we have the luxury here of saying that, of course, as I mentioned earlier, that we do not have diplomatic ties with Israel.
Yeah.
However, I think there's still a lot of work to be done. My first recommendation would be definitely get involved with BDS Malaysia. They have very experienced people who can tell you like what you can and cannot do. They take their notes also from BDS like globally. I think IAIS is doing a great job with all your op-eds and your interviews and your roundtable discussions. I think either if you speak Malay or English, you need to start deepening your thought. We really have no excuse because I think, especially in KL, let's say, I wouldn't say the rest of the country necessarily, but if you have access, go to protests, read these articles, forward it, share it. You should also approach your MPs and ask them, what are you actually doing about this Gaza thing? Tell them you saw this very interesting podcast about a travel ban. And I think MPs and stuff like that, we need to start bringing this up to the PM's office and getting Ministry of Home Affairs involved, because again, like I said, these people are experts. They have been guarding the national security of this country for a long time. But this is one element that doesn't really exist, of asking people like, have you committed genocide? So I think this has been overlooked. And I think it's high time, with so many of them with IDF members with dual nationality, triple nationality, obviously I'm well aware that they're not all running and coming to Malaysia. But if we do it, and other countries in the region where they maintain a large amount of visitors from Israel, if we start doing it, we can also bring it across to other people. So we want, the end game of all this is there has to be retributive justice. You cannot commit genocide today and tomorrow you're lying on a beach, sipping some fresh juice. I mean, this is insane to me. So I think we all have our role, and we have to actually move this forward.
I think it's good that we start here first. Maybe, if we can call it, we started small, and then when we have the experience, then we can become the pioneer that other countries can follow, and maybe trigger like a global movement. So before we end, for members of the audience who wants to learn more about Travel Ban IDF, do you have any websites or social media platforms that they can go to?
Yes, you can search for us on Instagram at Travel Ban IDF. Unfortunately, because we just started, I would say information is still pretty scant at the moment, but you can always get in touch with us via our account.
Website or Facebook?
It is in the process. Yeah, because our aim has always been to reach the government. But we are seeing that I think we really need to also work together with institutions such as yours, but also with BDS Malaysia, actually, because for me, I think the danger for a lot of people starting up new NGOs and new everything, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's people probably doing it better than you,
Yes.
and you should join forces with those people, you know. So that's where we're at right now.
On that note, thank you very much
Thank you
for
so
joining
much.
us, Michelle, Shamini.
Thank you.
And big thanks for all the member of the audience for tuning in. If you enjoy what you hear, please do us a favor and spread the word. Please share, like, and drop a comment. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Enlighten, empower, evolve.